Hey guys, Gameboy 3800 here once again. We're gonna get away from BeamNG for just a bit, and now we're gonna go back into some vintage benchmarking. Today we got something very special computers. We got Voodoo computers, yep. We got Voodoo Envies, that they're called. We're going from smallest to largest, and first up we have the HP Voodoo Envy 133. This is called the HP Voodoo Envy because this is from a time after Voodoo PC was bought out by HP. They still operated like on their own pretty much, but they were able to utilize HP's huge manufacturing capabilities in order to bring prices down. And that's what this computer is. The Voodoo Envy 133, full carbon fiber. It brought the cost down like by being with HP by like double. If this was done purely by Voodoo PC, it would have been a $5,000 netbook. Instead, it was just a $2,000 netbook, so that's pretty cool. At the time, it was the thinnest computer in the world. I have mine in black carbon finish. That's the stock paint. You could, of course, get this thing painted whatever you liked. That was the thing with Voodoo PC. They're kind of like Falcon Northwest, where you can put whatever you like on it, like on the case. Now this is a really cool computer. It's got a lot of cool features. It's got like a fully flush trackpad that's got a lot of really good touch controls. Like even a modern touchpad is like only slightly better than this. It's really good. And the keyboard's got a light sensor, so anytime you get your hands near it, the keyboard will turn on its backlight if you have the screen dim enough and on battery power and stuff. And it's a really cool machine. Very thin. The ports are actually pretty comparable to even today's systems. We have an express card slot, we have a vent, HDMI, USB, power, eSATA as well. So yeah, pretty comparable port selection. And that's from 2008. And then the only downside with this casing is there's not very good airflow. So underneath the left palm area, it gets really hot. That's where the fan is. Not a very good design. I think it's because they didn't wait until the newer, more efficient Intel Core series were out. They used an old Core 2 Duo U series. It's okay, and it came with a factory SSD, a 64 gig one. Or maybe it's an 80 gig, I forget. I know, it was a 64 gig SSD or an 80 gig hard drive. A lot of people went for the SSD, and that's what this one's got here. The screen itself can be really bright. I think I'll turn it up here in a second in the footage. I put Windows 10 on it just to see if it would work, and lo and behold, it actually does work. Here we can see it looks like a still image, but I assure you this is in fact a full video footage thing. There it is. And Cinebench is going to be our benchmark of choice just because it runs on everything. It's an old version, so it's easy to run. And before we move on to the next machine, I had to show how bright this thing actually gets. It's pretty dumb, pretty insane. This was a really bright screen, even for the time, and it certainly still is now. 1200 by 800 resolution, or 1280 by 800, so 720p, a little bit over. Pretty good screen, 13.3 inches. Next up, we move to something a little bit more special. This is old style Voodoo PC. This is an M370 limited edition. It's got some off-color parts because when I received this computer, it was literally only a shell. It had no keyboard. It had no screen. And it had no internals whatsoever. It was just a shell. This took the longest one to fix up. Purely because of that, I had to source everything about this computer on my own. And as such, it's got a kind of a mismatch of parts. It's got the silver hinges and hinge caps from Icon computer, spelled I-Q-O-N. I don't know why. It's got the motherboard of an old Winbook computer. The hard drive is original to one of the machines, but it is an original 40 gig. Port selection, not too bad. You got VGA, S-Video, a USB. I think that's a PC MCIA on the left side. On the right side, it's got the DVD drive and a lock port. So not too many things to go over here. Actually, there is some stuff on the front that's got your front audio, that's got your SD card, and even the firewire, as well as all your LED lights. So yeah, this one, I've seen some motherboards that have the built-in ATI graphics, but I guess I haven't had one that works yet. So this one just has the very basic Intel GMA graphics from the time. This is running, I think, a Celeron or Pentium M at 1.5 gigahertz. Even the netbook from before, the 133, that was running 1.8 gigahertz old dual core. This is a 1.5 gigahertz single core. And when we get to the benchmarks later, it's not going to do too well. Here, you can just see how bare bones I got it. All the labels ripped off. I don't know if it even had any. I don't know what the pre-build 6 means. I don't know what that sticker stain is. It must have been a Windows key. Oh well. Other than that, this seems to be a fairly standard MyTac chassis. So, no big deal. And the DVD drive, I do have a different DVD drive with a different faceplate from another Voodoo Envy laptop, but it's like slightly too big. It wouldn't be flush, so I just leave it with the old Icon one. And I do apologize I didn't get keyboard footage for the 133. Well, I did, but I don't know why the autofocus just refused to work. Even so, it didn't really work too well here, but oh well. Here you can see the Winbook splash screen. That's because I had to put a Winbook board in this. This computer went through 4 motherboards before I found one that fit and worked. And it's pretty dumb. That's a lot of money wasted, you know, but, you know, if you're trying to get impossible to find parts, sometimes that's what you need to go through. This one's got Windows 7 just because if I tried to put Windows 10 on this, it would actually explode. And that's no joke. I have had this computer on fire before, so that's also fun. The first board I put in started smoking and sparks, and yeah. It's a survivor. I love this computer. Anyways, Windows 7, what is that, Home Premium. I don't connect this to the internet. I've only connected it a few times to get drivers for it. That's a pretty stable computer. Not too quick. We can see its startup time here with the old hard disk. But once it's up and going, it's not too bad. And to be honest, this is a cold boot. I haven't turned this thing on in like a year since I last rebuilt it. And I do like the cool backgrounds I make for these things. Limited edition white background there. I think we're trying to launch Cinebench here. Just taking its sweet time. There it goes. Took long enough. Yeah. You can definitely tell this will probably be the slowest computer in the benchmark roundup at the end. But it's not supposed to be fast, it's just supposed to be working. And the fact that I got it to work after all I've been through, this computer's story is insane. Yeah. I think this was like a chassis that was shown at CES, this exact one. CES 2005, it probably would have been for this one. Maybe 2004, I don't know. When was Pentium M new? Regardless, we're going to shut this one down and move on to the next one. Shutting down hard disk also takes its sweet time, but hopefully soon we'll be able to get going. Now, I do realize that the hinges on that one were like kind of crooked. The only way I could get the hinges to be flush is if I do another whole disassembly, which I didn't want to do. It's a pretty stupid design. Next up, we move on to the Envy M172. The last thing we saw was the M370. I don't know what the numbers stand for. I think this one stands for 17.2 inch. But the last computer was a 14-inch or 14 point whatever inch. I really don't know. This has a this has a nice graphic on the back of it here, of like a phoenix, a fire phoenix. It's a little bit small. I don't know why they didn't like make it take a more of the back or add another one on the other side to counter it. I've seen that done before. I don't know. Maybe the original buyer of this didn't have that much money and just got it in red and put on like a phoenix because red and fire and phoenix. Yeah. I have a number of these style machines, same chassis, from Eurocom and from Sager. And they both have really good screens, 1920 by 1200. This one also has 1920 by 1200, but I don't know what's wrong with this screen's color calibration. It is like the worst I've ever seen. This is the only computer I've ever, or only laptop I should say, that I've ever had to do a manual color calibration just to try to fix it. Really dumb. I don't know what's going on with that. And we do have a replacement battery because trying to find the original batteries for these are actually impossible. If you noticed before, on the white one, that actually did have its original battery. A rare find. I've got an SD card in this one. I have it there so it can be used for Windows Ready Boost to speed up this computer's hard drive, because there is another hard drive, but it is a dual core, so it actually is faster. DDR2, I've got 6 gigabytes in this. 4 gigabyte DDR2 sticks are getting stupid expensive, so that's just making this thing, I guess, even more special. Got 2 big fans on the bottom. This is the first computer with non-Intel graphics. This has a NVIDIA GeForce 8700M GT. It can support up to a 280M, but every other card I've tried in this computer, on this board, just gives a VBIOS error, and it won't load the driver or VBIOS, so it'll just be stock Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. And I really don't know why. I probably could try to update the BIOS, but trying to update an old BIOS like this, less than ideal, let's just say that. Ports, lots of USB on the side there. You got a wireless antenna as well. PCMCIA or express card, I forget. SD card, as you can see, spinning around. This chassis could have a fingerprint reader in between the left and right click, but this one doesn't have it. Left side is just a lock port and a DVD drive. The back had the power and video outputs. And this computer boots up with a Eurocom logo. This is how I got it. I have not changed out the board on this. I'm not sure if this board has been swapped out in the past. It would not surprise me. Like, old computers, they can fail. So if you need to get a replacement part later down the line, obviously Voodoo PC got defunct. So you need to source it from something else. And Eurocom is the next best one, I think. Next best board. They're still around. You can probably find the forum to help you out with it. I don't know. Anyways, Windows 10 on this one, just like the 133. It's got a little bit of a slow hard drive. That's why I put in the Ready Boost. And I do make sure, like for all these computers, I have them running before the recording so that, it's not a cold boot, except for the M370, the white one. I let that be a cold boot because I really didn't feel like dragging it out just to shut it back down. Because that one has no working battery. All the others do. Anyways, we're booting up now. The screen itself, nice, big, glossy screen. But you're going to see that the colors are very washed out. It takes a second for the NVIDIA drivers to load in and fix the color. And maybe you'll see that, I don't know. It is still taking its sweet time though. And one thing I don't really like about this is where the audio ports are. They're right on the front. Now it's not too big of an issue with the other one, the white one, because it's so like grounded. With these, they jut out. So if you're like leaning this on you or whatever, it's gonna like be felt. I don't know. still taking its time. Believe it or not, I have cut out a lot of like booting up footage. And here we can see like before the color gets calibrated. I can barely see the icons. And any second now, everything will be loaded up and you'll see a difference. It's not too much on camera, but trust me, the screen is horrible. There it goes. Now we can actually see stuff. So that background was actually like a really old one I did. I did that for like an old truck on Fenn's D series monster truck and BeamNG. Got Cinebench running. And we're doing 11.5 just because it runs on literally everything. From Pentium 4s up to the latest stuff. And we're gonna go ahead and shut it down here. And it's Windows 10, so there's not too much to see. It'll just stay shutting down for like a second and then the screen goes black. So you can't see too much, but the front lights do tell the story. In a second now, they'll all flash off except for the charge light. I probably should try to put an SSD in this to make it a little bit faster. But yeah, there we go. Only the charge lights remain. And now we get on to the big kahuna. This is the HW201. This is based off of the Alienware MALX chassis, otherwise known as the M59K chassis from Clevo. Very big computer, 19-inch machine this is. The other one was 17-inch. This is 19-inch. It dwarfs it. It's not even funny. So I had to move like my whole setup back like a few extra inches to make sure it wouldn't like just scrape the wall every time. Given that this is based off the MALX, it's got the same ports, so it's got audio on the left and DVD drive on the left. In the back we have USB, serial somehow, S-video, and power, as well as nothing but vents. On the right we have Wi-Fi, SD card, USBs, FireWire, express card slot, and some antenna hookups as well. The front has nothing. And this computer, I don't know how I managed to get this computer. I got it off eBay like a few years ago. And ever since then, I've had so many offers for this computer. Stupid offers too. But I've declined them all because I want to complete this build. Right now it's running a single Quadro FX 2500M, which is pretty much on its last legs, I think. Every time it boots, it's hit or miss whether it'll even display or not. But if I can swap in a pair of 7900 or 7950 GTX cards, that would fix it up. One experiment I would like to do with this computer is to try an external GPU with its express card slot, just to see if it would work. This is based off of the Clevo M59KE. So this means it is a dual-core variant with DDR2 and mSATA slot. Yeah, this board, like this motherboard layout, is pretty cool. Everything's kind of on the right side, so if you're gaming, everything on the left stays cool, like with your hand. This computer's condition is pretty good. This computer has a very sad story as well, like the M370. The person who was selling this on eBay said he got it from a friend who saved it from being recycled. Somebody was going to throw that away. And when I got it, the only problem it had was a loose memory stick. Can't believe someone would have thrown a computer away for a loose memory stick. Especially one like this. This would have been like a $8,000 computer new. I guess this is technically also an HP Voodoo Envy because this is like right after HP brought them out. It's still completely Voodoo design, but still under HP, but whatever. The keyboard feels really good, but there's so much space on the left and right that they could have easily put more keyboard space in. And that's just the chassis, like the chassis' fault. Not too much you can do with that. Battery unoriginal, but it does work. We're gonna boot it up on battery here in just a second. And the speakers on this actually are pretty good. This is the only like computer of the day so far that has really good speakers. The 133 has good speakers for its size, but that's for its size. This computer has actually good speakers. And I guess it's because of the sound separation and the quadraphonic sound system, because you got 2 speakers at the bottom there, and you have 2 speakers at the top below the screen. So it gets the sound out pretty good. And opening it up and turning it on, I have maxed this thing out. We've got a AMD Turon TL68, 2.4 GHz dual core. I've got it fit with 8 GB of DDR2 memory. And I do need to upgrade the Wi-Fi card to one that can see 5 GHz connections. Because right now it's running only 2.4 GHz. Which is fine for the time, but obviously there's like wireless N that you could throw into this thing and it'd work. And this is my modern desktop background on all my usable laptops. I've decided I'm gonna revert this computer back to Windows 7 because Windows 10, I can't update past version 1909. Every time I've tried, it does actually just blue screen and revert back to 1909. So once 1909 is totally obsolete, I'll revert it back to Windows 7. This does have a 80 gig Intel SSD as well as a 500 gig hard drive, so it's got the storage capacity. That's good. And we're shutting it down again after doing the benchmarks. We'll show all the scores later, but shutting it down, same kind of thing. It'll just turn off the screen and not really shut down. When the Windows shuts down, normally that's really just hibernating. Which is dumping all of its programs to memory and stuff, whatever. So here is the benchmarks. Up top we have the M370, then we have the M172, then the HW201, and then the NV133. This is in chronological order from when they were released. So yeah, no surprise, the M370 didn't do too well. But it's a pretty close battle between the M172 and the HW201. That's because they're both 2.4 gigahertz. Yep. The big green one had a dual-core AMD processor running at 2.4 gigahertz, and the M172 had a dual-core Intel processor running at 2.4 gigahertz. So that's about as apples to apples as you could get, but at the time they were both running the same version of Windows 10 as well. So it shows that even though they're both the same clock speed, even back then Intel had IPC advantage. And then at the bottom we have the NV133, little U-series Core 2 Duo at 1.8 gigahertz. It actually does pretty well. It's almost able to keep up with the 2.4 gigahertz of the big green computer. And that's actually not too bad for a U-series. You know, it would have been 2008, 2009, so just a couple years newer, and almost as fast as what would have been a multi-$1,000 computer at the time. So it's a good showing for the 133. The 133's major flaw is that it's got no graphics, it runs warm, and you cannot upgrade the SSD easily. It uses a ZIF connector, not a SATA connector, so it's hard to get SSD replacements for it. But if you can bump it up to like 256, maybe 512 gig capacity. Also can only do 2 gigs of RAM. I don't know why. I've tried putting in a 4 gig stick, doesn't work. Just stays at the post screen. Other than that, that's all those computers. These computers are a lot of fun to collect and build up. Especially the white one there. That one took the most amount of effort I've ever put into a computer to fix it up. And I am so proud of how it turned out. Anyways, that's going to do it. Let me know which one of these computers is your favorite. That'll be it from me today. Thanks, Game Boy Out. I will see you all in the future.